beyond human. So that's why we're here. We're not doing it over at the State House, begging to a bunch of people who don't have that attitude, that in many ways, they're negative of everything what I've said. They cling on to everything on this planet. They cling on to their material world, and they cling on to power, profit, and control. That's what they're about. They have forgotten what it needs to be human beings, and they want to denigrate all of us to be slaves, because they're a bunch of slaves. That's what they are. They're all slaves. They're slaves to power, profit, and control. Everyone here, and I want to thank John for saying a few words, and Karina and Dr. Robin, is this movement is a movement to enliven people fundamentally to mean what it means to be a human being. That's what this is about. And I believe, thank you, that's what this is about. This is about us reconnecting with what it means to be human. Because there are forces of darkness, whatever you want to call them, or anti-human forces, which want to make us robots, which want to make us slaves. In every which way, biologically, forced vaccinations, materially, lockdowns, right? Forced lockdowns, shutting down schools. And all of that is being done because those people, if you look at actually the character of those people, they are not creative, they don't work, they don't produce music, they don't produce writing, they don't produce anything. What they do produce is manipulation of other human beings. That's what they do. They produce manipulation, and they profit from that. And the class that does that is called a lawyer class. So when you step back and you look at the arc of history, and it's very, very important to understand history because you know, I mean, we're basically a small frame in a big movie that's been going on for a long time. And then that, you know, we leave and the next frame starts. So it's really, really important to understand what frame we're in so we could hopefully be bold and courageous to drive the direction of that movie, right? And that's what we have to reconnect with. And everyone here can have a huge impact because I'll tell you, when you look at the arc of human history, there's one variable that no one can ever predict. That's courage. Courage and boldness, you can't put that into a spreadsheet. You can't model that in some computer program. AI can never understand the variable of courage. And it is courage that has changed human history, always. And it could be the courage of one individual or a group of people. And that's what this movement is about. Now, our running for U.S. Senate is not about just running for U.S. Senate. It's about each one of us starting to set an example of what it means to be a human being. That's what this is about. So if you look at the conditions that are going on right now in that arc of history, what you find is the following. In the late 1800s and the 1900s, American working people, this is a Dr. Shiva for U.S. Senate rally, and the subtitle of our rally, which is really the main title, says Working People Unite. Working people unite, which means people who produce value, people who work hard, mothers, nurses, doctors, engineers, blacksmiths, masonaries, people who actually work for a living. This is about working people uniting. And why is that important? Because if we do not unite, we will be made slaves. And that's what's going on. That's what's happening. And this goes beyond Republican or Democrat. This goes beyond left and right, black and white. Because what's been happening is that the establishment, particularly the liberal elites, and their quote-unquote Republican colleagues have been working against all of us. They've been dividing us, black and white. They've been forcing people to wear masks. They want to force vaccinate people. They're doing lockdowns. All these things are intended to divide us. That's what's going on. That's what's fundamentally going on. So if you look at the arc in the late 1800s and the early 1900s in the United States, working people started uniting. Why? Because their conditions were being squeezed by the establishment of the time. And that's what was going on. And by the early 1900s, those working people's movements were growing militantly and defiantly. And a lot of that's been erased from American history. And it was those working people's movements that delivered everyday people something called infrastructure. So if you start looking from that, that delivery was we started getting hygiene. We started getting clean water. We started getting nutrition. That didn't come from above. It didn't come from the Kennedys. By the way, the Kennedys were shorting the stock market at the time, making money off the stock market crash. That's what the Kennedys were doing. So remember that history. 1920, old Joe Kennedy was shorting the freaking stock market. But working people were rising up, bottoms up, mass protests, and they put a gun basically to the elite's head, and they said, if you don't do this, you will have a revolution in this country. And so that's the facts. And so the elites got very scared, and they threw a few bones. Here's Social Security. We'll give you the 8-hour workday. We'll give you some infrastructure. And so starting in 1945 to 1971, you see an explosive growth in the American economy. That did not come from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. If anything, he was a racist. He was an elitist. It didn't come from the Democrats. It didn't come from the Republicans. It came from people's names that we do not even know. They fought for us. Exactly. That's who we should honor. It came from black and white. Black and white. Immigrants from all parts of this country. And those people are the reason that we have highways. Those are the reason that we started getting public education in this country. Real public education. Those came from working people who put the fear of God into the establishment. And that's what we sort of did here. They tried to say, oh, you can't gather here. You can't have generators here. We said, really? No freaking way. This is a protest. We have every right, and they walked away. That's how we win. We got to have people organizing, and we say, no, this is my right. I pay my taxes. I have every right to be here. We don't say, okay, really? Thank you. No, we say, this is a country of laws, not rules. You can't make up rules as you want them. No freaking way. So that's what we did here. And yesterday, we did the same thing in the Boston City Hall. 15 of us went over there. Some of you are here. On September 4th, we asked this Mayor Marty Walsh, a totally corrupt guy, we wanted the data because we're showing that election fraud took place. We wanted the data from all the precincts. On September 4th, Richard went over there, gave them the document, and they have 10 days to respond by law. They didn't. So we had to go over there. First, they tried to make it a mask issue, no mask issue. But finally, they saw our defiance, and you know what? Within 5 minutes, we got our document that we had waited for 20 days. That's a victory. That's a victory. So what I'm here to do in a very humble way is to re-inspire you to start thinking about how we win. That's what this is about. This is not about, oh, we elected that guy and we lost. Oh, we elected that guy, we lost. Elections are not how we win, but it's building the movement. The election just happens to be a path we take along the way. And along that way, we start poking the bear. And what we find out is all their corruption, which is what we found out, that they cheat, they lie, they commit election fraud, they throw away ballots. All right? But that's not the end. The means and the ends have to be together. We're educating people along this movement. That's what we're doing. And Karina's able to articulate this. John's able to articulate this. And everyone here, the more and more people able to articulate this, we've created revolutionaries. And that's dangerous. They want people who go to the Republican Party or to the Democratic Party or go over to that stupid State House. And by the way, they started doing protests because they see us doing it. And as Karina said, they're being misled by a bunch of scumbags called Health Choice, who told people not to do protests, who told women, but now they see us coming up, so they'll also try to hijack protests, and you got to get smart. But the bottom line is, it was because of the militant workers' movements, and you have to use the word militant. Let me tell you why that word's important, because you have to get angry. I did a video, and I said, this is fucked up, okay? And someone said, oh, you shouldn't use that F-U-C-K word. Well, yesterday I did another video with a very distinguished guy in Britain on Camelot Castle, and he heard what happened. He goes, this is fucked up, okay? And he goes, I don't curse, but this is fucked up election fraud. And someone wrote on his feed, oh, you shouldn't use that word, John. He goes, no, this is fucked up, okay? That word was developed to express a natural anger. And by the way, I find a lot of these people who have problems with that term, they curse a lot, by the way, if you sit with them. They're hypocrites. But they don't want the natural expression of anger of working people. You should be freaking angry. We have a right to be angry. And they can't, they want to medicate us with, 60% of the kids are on Ritalin. It numbs their emotions. They think they're going to medicate us so we don't get militant. And I'm not talking about going and burning down stuff. I'm talking about a militant movement organizing bottoms up. Hopefully we don't have to do that. But getting angry and getting upset is a natural human emotion. Anyone who tries to suppress that, you got to say, what's your agenda? Right? What's your agenda? But it was a militant working people's movement of the 1900s that we got unions. I mean, good unions. Okay, not the unions of today. Because people were being mistreated. And so between 1945 and 1971, if you look at the data, by the way, a beautiful report came up from some honest scientists, the entire American pie grew. We had real growth in this country. That means if you made $20,000, if you made $50,000, if you made $100,000, if you made $1 million, the entire pie was growing. If you look at the economic growth, and this is beautiful data that's just recently published, everyone was growing. Everyone's incomes went up by 10% annually, whatever the number was, right? The entire pie grew. The entire American pie grew, and that's when you had true expansion of American growth. But in 1971, things changed. And one of the important things that changed was obviously we moved away from the gold standard to the petrodollar. But fundamentally what happened in 1971 was you had the collusion of the Republicans and Democrats against working people, because you know what? In 1940, they never wanted to give us those rights. They never wanted us to give her the